My wife Sarah and I, name's Mike, by the way, moved into a nice cul-de-sac not long ago. It didn't take us long to click with our neighbors. We're all about the same age, more or less. Most of the other couples have kids running around. We don't yet, though. But after watching our neighbors and seeing how children strengthen a family, our parents kept saying now is the perfect time for them to enjoy grandkids while they're still healthy and active. We thought about it a bunch. We both work, so we decided it was a good time, and Sarah stopped taking the pill a few months back. We kept it a secret for now, not ready to spill the beans. We didn't even tell our folks. Tom and Karen were part of our group. They were the oldest of our friends. They had some kind of engineering business and two kids, Jake and Emily, keeping them busy. Then there was Lisa and Steve nearby. She was a school teacher, and Steve worked in some financial business, raising their twins, Ben and Mia. Next up were Nancy and Bill. They had a son, Owen, just 9 months old. Nancy didn't work outside the home these days. Bill was doing something in the insurance game. That left Julie and Pete, who had a daughter, Grace, brightening their days. Sarah worked in a bank, and I was a project manager for a local builder. We put up these houses on this suburban cul-de-sac. Sarah and I were the youngest in the crew, still the newbies. We were all at Pete and Julie's for one of Pete's fantastic barbecues. Several other neighbors showed up too. The men all got along real well, no issues there. We played golf together pretty regular, and the girls had their bachelorette parties once or twice a month, nothing crazy. At the barbecue, we split into groups like usual. The men stood around the barbecue to chat with Pete, drinks in hand. He went heavy on the meat, marinated piri-piri chicken, seasoned pork loin, lamb chunks with herbs, and ribs and tasty barbecue sauce. There was even fish for the vegetarians among us. There were no burgers. Pete said they were too plain for his taste. But he had some pork and apple sausages, seasoned with herbs, that hit the spot. We had plenty of salad and rolls from a bakery down the road. The girls planned to get together the next Thursday. Julie helped Pete by bringing him food to cook and fetching beer from the fridge for us guys. The ladies gathered around the garage, laughing and sipping their drinks. Rick, the local catcher, walked over to the girls. I watched him chatting with them. He put his arm around Sarah's shoulders. She pushed him off and glared at him something fierce. She noticed me looking and gave a nervous smile my way. Rick took the hint and wandered off to find someone else. We were talking about the golf game we played this morning, good swings all around. He'd asked me to grab more charcoal from the garage. He liked using real charcoal, not briquettes or gas, and kept a stash back there. I slipped past his car, picked up the bag, and noticed the garage window was open. I could hear the girls talking plain as day. I heard Karen say, "So Liz, how are things with Greg?" "I'm going to leave him," Liz replied. "He's getting too clingy and Steve's suspicious, but I'll miss the sex. Greg's more about quantity than quality. Though doing it at a desk is exciting." "What about you, Tay? How's the soccer player?" Karen said. "Is all right, better than Tom in bed," she answered. "But the nervousness might make me break up with him soon. Is not worth risking Tom." Then Liz asked Nancy, "I suppose young Owen has slowed your adventures?" "Yes," she said. "I'm too tired to fool around anyway. Dill's fine with me for now." She giggled a bit. Sarah cut in. "Well, have you heard from Vince lately? He keeps messaging me, asking to get together again." She paused. "If I wasn't so tired, I might have." "How's your sex life, Sarah?" Nan asked. I heard a chuckle in her tone. "Mike is great," Sarah said. "He could even teach my boyfriend a thing or two about pleasure, like Kay mentions," she added. I barely heard Liz whisper, "Tay, don't tell Julie we're having fun, or she'll leave us quick." "Tay, you with us Thursday, or out with your soccer player?" someone asked. "Not sure," Karen said. "They've got an away match this week. He may not be around Thursday," she explained. "Hey, Lizzie, that'll give you a shot at Greg," someone teased. "You staying with him after work?" "No," Liz said. "The boys are going golfing next week for a weekend. If one of you can watch the twins, I'll spend a couple days with Greg and sort it out," she added. Sarah, could you do it? Okay, I will. Sarah said, good practice for when we've got our own kid. But you don't mean the last couple nights, right? She joked, making them laugh. I had a problem with the cold, felt it in my bones. I took the charcoal to Pete and said, "Hey, let's join the wives. See what's so funny." We walked over, and I forced a smile, hiding my anger boiling inside. We got there and stood by our spouses. "What's so funny, girls?" I asked. "Nothing," Nan said, "just chatting." I looked at Liz. Chattering about spending a couple nights with Greg while we golf, then dumping him. Said, "What? Who's Greg?" Liz stammered, her face twisting in panic. "Greg, you know, from your school," I said. "You like doing it on his desk, but he's too clingy, Steve's suspicious, and you'll miss the sex. Hope Steve can help." Steve went pale. "Greg? That goddamn principal," he yelled. Everyone's mouths dropped open. No one botched. Looking at Karen, I said, "At least you, Kay, can run with your soccer player, even if Tom's better in bed, just not this Thursday with that away match." I glanced at the girls. "That'll save you from lying to Julie when Karen skips your party for him." Tom stared at Karen, furious. The girls muttered excuses. Looking at Nancy, I asked, "You meeting Vince yet? Bet he'd restart your adventures." Looking at Bill, I said, "Guess a DNA test next, buddy?" Silence hit the crowd hard. I took Sarah's hand. She tried to pull away. I squeezed tighter, not letting go. Sarah let out a scream of pain that cut through the air. The garden went dead quiet, and every head turned toward us. I slid the wedding ring off her finger, holding it up for a second. "And I ain't teaching your boyfriend a damn thing," I said. "Now you'll have plenty of time to watch Ben and me and next week while us guys hit the golf course. Give Liz her last hurrah with Greg. Oh, and maybe you can keep an eye on little Owen too. Let Nancy kick things off with Vince earlier than she figured. Unless you're telling me you don't have any plans with this boyfriend of yours?" I felt a hand clamp down on my shoulder, tugging me back. "Leave her alone," someone growled. Was it Rick? Could he be the boyfriend? Didn't matter much to me. Still, my right fist swung and cracked him square on the cheek. He stumbled back, crashing into the crowd gawking at the drama. I turned and walked off, yanking my own wedding ring loose as I went. Passing Pete's barbecue, I tossed both rings into the hottest coals. The garden stayed silent, like it was holding its breath. Sarah caught up to me halfway home, breathless. "I don't have a boyfriend, Mike," she pleaded. "I was just playing along with Liz and Karen, keeping up appearances. I swear, you're my one and only." "Fine." "Yeah." I shot back. "You expect me to buy that?" "Please believe me," she begged. "I'm innocent." "Innocent till proven guilty, huh?" I nodded, but my feet kept moving. I made it home first, stepped inside, and locked the door tight behind me. Soon, there was loud banging on the front door, probably Sarah. I fired off a text to her parents, spilling everything I'd overheard in the garage, then powered down my phone. Her folks lived just 20 minutes away. About 15 minutes later, a heavier knock rattled the door. Could have been her dad, maybe even Rick, who knows. I slipped my phone back on and dialed her father. The knocking quit the second he picked up. "Ask her if what I texted you was true," I said, then shut it off again. The pounding didn't start up again. I hopped online and got the divorce papers rolling. Time to cut ties. Sarah probably crashed at her parents' place. 2 days later, she showed up at my door with her dad and mine. "Michael," my father said, "can we sit down and hash this out?" I let them in, and we settled around the kitchen table. Her dad kicked things off. "She's not cheating, Mike. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She just said that stuff to fit in with her friends," he went on. "They might be stepping out, but Sarah's not like that. She loves you. There's no proof she's got someone else. Innocent till proven guilty, right?" "Fine," I said. "Let's say I buy that she probably doesn't have a boyfriend." Sarah's lips curved into a small smile. I leaned over the table, locking eyes with her. "But you lied to me about you five going out when it was really for covering for Liz, Sharon, and maybe Nancy while they met their guys." Yeah, she admitted. I'm sorry. So you helped them hide their affairs from their husbands? She nodded slow. You condoned it, then? I'm pressed. Well, I guess I did, she said. So keeping up with your buddies, looking cool to them, mattered more than being straight with me? I didn't want to be left out, she mumbled, like some tag-along. I felt heat rising in my chest. You wouldn't be a tag-along, Julie never cheated on Pete. She dropped her gaze and whispered, I think she did. You lied to Julie too, covering for the other three? I asked. She's the only honest one in your crew. She nodded again. So you don't see a problem with a wife stepping out on her husband? I'd never do that to you, she insisted. Both dads' faces sank. They could tell where this was headed. You guilty of lying to me? Yes, she said, nodding. Guilty of hiding your friends' affairs from their husbands? I think I am, she admitted. Guilty of helping them sneak around? Yeah, I'm afraid so. So you think it's fine for a wife to cheat? I said. You're guilty by your own words, and I'm not waiting around till you decide it's okay to do it to me. I'd rather cut my losses now. I slid the divorce papers across the table. Tom's dumping Karen, Steve's done with Lisa, Bill's testing Owen's DNA, and I hear Bill and Nancy arguing every night. Doubt they'll last. For families, wrecked, I added. Pete and Julie ain't exactly thrilled either. Sarah's dad helped her up and out of the house. 3 weeks later, both our moms showed up with Sarah. I let them in, and we sat at the kitchen table again. My mother spoke first. Michael, let's not dance around it. You got Sarah pregnant. Sarah's mom jumped in. Take her back. Raise this kid. She messed up, but she loves you. She hasn't been with anyone else. This is your baby. That hit me like a brick. I didn't ask if they wanted it. Just got up and started making tea. Needed a minute to think. I set the tray on the table and nodded at my mom to pour. She did, and once the cups were full, I said, get a DNA test ASAP. If it's mine, I'll pay child support. If it's not, she can track down the real dad and get it from him. All three faces across from me froze in shock. Sarah's mom opened her mouth, but I raised a hand, she shut it quick. While I was brewing that tea, I said, taking a sip, I realized this be a long talk. She lied to me. She lied to her friends. She hid their affairs from their husbands. Lying comes easy to her, it seems. I went on. So how do I know she's not lying about a boyfriend? Rick was awful chummy with her at the barbecue. Maybe it's his kid. She acts like affairs are no big deal, I said. If they weren't, she'd have told me, or their husbands, tried to stop it. Instead, she made up a lie about cheating herself, and says it didn't happen. I don't know what's true. If she thought cheating was off limits, I continued, she wouldn't have agreed to watch Lisa's kids so she could shack up with Greg. She thinks it's fine to step out on a husband. So she hasn't cheated yet. It's just a matter of time. She's okay with it. I finished. I'm not cheating, and I'm not risking it. Send me the DNA results. If the kid's mine, I'll pay. Now, excuse me. I've got work to do to get this house ready to sell. I stood up, opened the front door, and waves them out. 2 days later, Taryn, Lisa, and Nancy were at my front door. I invited them in but didn't put the kettle on. Alcoholic drinks were on hand, though. They told me Sarah wasn't having an affair on the side. They knew she was lying to keep up with them, just playing along. I asked them why they didn't dissuade her, since it was a lie anyway, and if I found out, like I did, it'd ruin our marriage. I didn't get an answer. They obviously hadn't thought it through. They asked me to consider taking her back, for the sake of the baby, and I told them I'd think about it. I thought about it as the door closed behind them when they left, but my answer stayed the same. Anyway, why should I believe her? The baby was mine, sure, but the trust and love was gone. My mom didn't get that. She was angry with me for a while, but my dad saw my point and eventually talked her down. I was there at the birth of our beautiful boy and vowed to be part of his life. But Sarah? No, it was over. The girls were so close that Pete found it hard to believe Julie didn't know about their affairs. He sent Grace for a DNA test because he'd lost faith in her. Julie was mad at Pete, 'cause he didn't trust her. Grace was his daughter, no question. Now even innocent folks were caught up in the scandal. Their marriage was fractured, shaky at best. I later learned from Pete there was lots of talking and apologizing. Maybe their marriage will survive. I hope it does. Other marriages, including mine, are broken. When several houses in the cul-de-sac hit the market at once, prices plummeted, and no one could afford to sell, so the neighborhood lost value.